Alright, welcome to the live stream. Let's see, let's just check, make sure everything is streaming. Looks good. Okay. And check sound. Alright, welcome to the live stream. Let's see, let's just check, make sure everything is streaming. Bam. Okay, excellent. Alright, so in the last video, we looked at Skype Clone. Microsoft is doing away with Skype, so we just decided for, just for a video live stream to build a Skype clone. We got the front end mostly completed. I think it's completed enough for us to move on to the back end. The back end is going to be in Node.js. That's what I'm planning on doing it in. The front end was React. So if we scroll up here, I asked ChatGPT-01 to create a prompt for the AI developer, and it's saying it's gonna build Node.js Express backend for a Skype Lite application. So I think I'm gonna reword that actually. But it goes through and it says, in fact, I want to do that now so I don't forget about it. I've copied exactly what's there over to here, except for I added this. So I put, please create a new directory to this front-end React application and move all the files and folders into that directory. Then create a new directory for the back end and follow the instructions below. So I'm going to say for this Skype chat app, Skype clone, we'll just say a clone because it does say clone. That way it matches this. Not that it matters too much, but let's get that Skype clone. Okay, so we'll use this as the actual prompt. This is outlined better so we can go through it. Project setup, so it's going to initialize the Node.js project with a package.json as standard. It's going to use TypeScript, so for consistency with the React front end. Configure the project to be easily containerized with Docker. We definitely want that. This gives you the directory structure, which is pretty standard there. We got our app, our server, our routes, controllers, services, models, middleware, utilities. That's all standard. Looks good. Dependencies on libraries, so it's going to use Express, socket IO, so that's great. And this will give us that real-time communication. So for our chats to appear instantly, so if someone else is chatting and they type in the chat, this opening up these sockets using socket IO just creates that instant for it to that chat to instantly appear for the other person, and then when you type and send it, it instantly appears for the other person. So, and then of course for our JSON web tokens, we're going to use that for our authentication. Mongoose or SQLize, probably go with Mongoose. Personally, I'd normally probably go with Postgres, but we'll see what it comes with. We're letting the AI build this. Bcrypt, okay, for hashing, Multer, so for handling uploads, so that's good. We do want to use that. Optionally, .NET for the environment. Variable management, we'll see what it comes up with that. Environment variables, configuration, so store sensitive variable, database and that kind of stuff in the .env. And provide the example, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so core feature endpoints, we have authentication, we have user management, we have the chat and messaging, file sharing. So let's see, socket IO, obviously we talked about that. Scalability and Dockerization. So include a minimal Docker file that that basically uses the official Docker base image. So this is all good. Suppose your chosen port, yeah, 301 we find. Implementation, implement a minimal Docker compose.yaml, that's good. Add script sections in the package so we can launch that stuff. Add basic middleware, error handling, simple data and mocking. Let's see, if no real database is set up yet, create an in-memory store array. So that's good. That'll be good for what we're doing. Provide test routes or scripts for each feature. That's nice. Return place order. Okay, so documentation, next step, ensure README details how to install and run. That's awesome. Build and run the server in production. Okay, very good. Outline any future improvements. So, yeah, okay. Goal: by the end of this prompt, we want a fully functional Node.js Express backend that our React chat app can communicate with via both HTTP APIs and the socket, obviously the socket IO for real-time events. The code base should be well structured, easily maintainable, and set up for future enhancements like user authentication, file sharing, logic, advanced group chat. Okay, sounds good. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our windsurf. Again, I am building this in windsurf, so I'm just going to copy all this. I'll just cut it out of there. We'll go over here to our, we don't need thinking for this. Let's go to Claude 3.7 Sonnet. I'm going to choose write. I'm going to paste this in here, and we will go ahead and submit. Yeah, let's just go ahead and go for it. All right. I guess I should have done this and then went over everything because this is going to take a little while. So I hope you reorganize the project structure. So good, it's doing that first. Let's see. Analyze the package, analyze the Docker file, analyze. So it's analyzing everything now. Create a plan to reorganize product structure. So make directory for the front end. That sounds good. And back end. Now I'll move the existing files, front end directory, except. All right, see, this is awesome, guys. Analyze the Skype Clone. Okay, now I'll set up the back end directory for this. Okay, so we want to accept that. Okay, let's open up this back end. See what's going on here. See, it's already got all this. That's amazing. So cd backend. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna cd into that init y. Okay, so we're setting it up. Name the backend version. Okay, we did that. That's good. I'll install the necessary dependencies. Let's go ahead and get that done. So we get our node module set up. Okay. Okay. There we go. So far, so good. You know, they always have that great start, and you're so excited, and then it just, hits that. Oh, great! Now I got to spend an hour figuring out why you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So hopefully, we'll be lucky, and this will be a zero shot hit. Highly unlikely, but it's fun nonetheless. So. I'll update the package.json file for the backend to include the appropriate skip for development. Very good. I apologize for the error. See, it's already found cascade error. So I'm not sure why it ran into an error while editing that. It's already got our package dependencies installed. Let's open this up a little more so we can see what we got going on here. So package. That's what it's trying to. Okay, so it's edited this. Okay. I'll create the main server file and other necessary files. I'll create the middleware files. Let's go ahead and click that for now. And close that out. Close that out. Okay, so it's doing that. Let's keep all that. Wow, yeah, it's doing a lot. Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead and keep all. Okay, so I'll continue setting up the backend. Let's create the conversation module next. Okay, so let's say, please continue. Okay, I'll continue setting up the backend for Skype Clone application. Let's create the authenticated route. so continue setting up the back end. Clone application. Let's continue around. I'll continue setting up the back end for the clone Skype Clone application. Okay, I'll continue setting up the back end for the Skype Clone application. Now let's create the authentication routes. Okay, got some linting errors. I'll continue editing, setting up the back end. Let's create the user control and routes next. Okay, very good. Keep all. Continue setting up back end. Let's create the user routes next. Okay. Okay, let's create the chat controller route next. This is just so crazy. I mean, it, you know, as a developer, it just takes you so long to do all this, and for it to just, you know, pop out so much in just a few minutes is mind blowing. It's so time efficient, and sometimes it actually creates some very good code. Sometimes it's not so good, but it has definitely gotten better over the last, especially this Claude 3.7 Sonnet is so much better than it used to be. I mean, we've come a long ways. Alright, so I'll continue setting up the back end. Let's create the chat routes next. Okay. Let's create the file controller routes. Okay. Need that for those file uploads. Want to be able to share files. I might have just kept that out for simplicity's sake, but we'll see what it comes up with. Alright, let's do that. I'll continue setting up the back end. Let's create the .env file. Let's create the .env file with default values. Nice. Let's create the Docker container. Okay, wow. Looks like we're getting close. Okay, Docker container for the Mongo database. So I went with MongoDB. Let's create a README file, so that's good. How to use it. I mean, that alone, just the fact that it came up with that. Well, that was the reasoning model, ChatGPT, but that was such a great thing to add to that. So let's create a project level README. .readme explains both the front end and the back end components of the application. That's good. See, now it came up with that part on its own, so that's just phenomenal. Okay, so it successfully organized the project, project structure, and created a complete back end for the Skype Clone application. Let me summarize what's done. Okay, so the project reorganization created separate directories for front end and back end, moved all existing files into the front end, set up the new back end directory with proper structure, back end implementation. Okay, so we got the project structure is got created well organized directory structure with source routes, controllers, modules, middleware, utils. So, okay, very good. Core features, authentication, okay, user management, user profiles, okay, status updates, okay, avatar uploads, very nice, direct messaging, okay, so support file sharing, technical implementation, TypeScript, okay, so we got Express, Mongo, Socket, JWT, multi-error, okay, Docker support, configuration, environment variables, the .env. Let's look at that .env. Where's that at? There it is. Okay. Very nice. Okay. Okay, Docker, compose, okay, development, documentation, create a comprehensible README file for both the backend and overall project, documented API endpoints, and socket IO events, includes setup deployment instructions. The backend is ready to be used, With the existing front end, you can start developing the server by navigating to the backend directory, run npm run dev. Backend will be available at localhost 3001. Would you like me to explain any specific parts implementation? Yes. Please look at the front end. We'll just say front end folder and make any changes needed to run with the back end. Okay, we'll just put that. Just want to make sure that it's up and ready, which it didn't say it was doing anything, so I'm assuming that it's not, the front end is not connected, is not set up to connect with this yet. So okay, I'll examine the API socket. Front end interacts. Let's start by looking at the API service. Okay, let me continue examining the API service. Now let's examine the sockets. Check the front end variables, how they're configured. I need to examine the types in the front end, understand the data structure in the API service. Let me examine types used in the front end to understand the data structure. Now I'll check the Redux store, okay, to understand the front end state management. Okay, let's examine the Redux store to understand the front end manages state and authentication. Let me examine the chat slice, understand the front end. Based on examination of the front end code, I need to update the API service to connect with our backend instead of using the mock data. Let me create a new implementation of the API service that will communicate with our backend API. Now I'll update the API service to connect with our backend. So we knew that this was using the mock data, so that's good. And you just have to really think, of what, like last week we just set up this mock, sort of site. So even though it created the back end for this, we had to know that, this, even though the back end's created, it didn't make any changes to that front end. So we need to make sure that it does that. So, okay, so let's go ahead and keep all. Okay, so now it's checking these, editing the .env. Now update the socket service to properly connect our backend. Let's examine the update the service. Okay, so good. It's editing the socket service. Okay, our new backend implementation. Let's start by updating the auth slice. Okay, let's update the chat slice. Very good. Okay, I'll continue updating. Let's examine the front end's package.json for the necessary dependencies. Okay, file configuration. Okay, to help to avoid CORS issues. This is very big, very important. I'll update the Vite configuration. Very good. Help the CORS issue working locally. Okay, done. Okay, let's please continue. And it still has work to do. I mean, obviously it just says done. That minute, it ran out of memory, so you have to or token, so you have to resubmit it, because it gives you a good summary when it's actually completed. When it's finished, it'll give you a summary of what it's done. If not, then you gotta ask it to continue. And it's very interesting that the habit of saying please, there's actually some situations when using please makes it worse. So there's times when you're using prompts and it's better to command it to do something and better to ask it to do something. Different situations require sort of different reasoning skills, or prompting, I should say. Okay, so ensure dispatch. Okay, so I'll fix the TypeScript errors. Okay, so it's finding errors and it's fixing it. I'll update the login page, remove the demo credentials. Okay, message since we're now connecting to a real backend. I'll clean up the unused imports in the login component to fix TypeScript warning. Okay. I do like that that Windsurf can do lint fixing without using up any more tokens, so that's no credits. I'll update the register page. Okay, good. We're going to need that. Paul. And I don't know yet how far we're going to get with this. I don't know if we'll be able to finish today, or we'll have to do another session, but we'll just get as far as we can with it. Okay. So it's fixing these TypeScript issues. And since I guess it's Windsurf actually doing this, it's saving us some token usage. Okay, well, let's see. I'll now update the to user function. We'll update the auth controller to our user helper function. Okay, so I'll continue fixing the TypeScript error in the backend's user module. Okay. And this is new, by the way, this purely lint fixing edit. That came out with the newest, as I believe it came out with the newest, the Wave 4 release. So that's probably why it didn't catch it last week. So let's go ahead and say, let's continue. Well. Okay. I love that you can misspell and it still knows what you're talking about. Alright, so let's update the auth middleware to properly handle TypeScript. So it's still cool. Okay, so I'll check the auth. Alright, model implementation. So I'll update the auth controller to remove the remaining TS ignore comment. Okay. Let's continue, fix TypeScript errors. Okay. I'll continue fixing TypeScript errors. I'm checking one more. So it's checking all these files and fixing the TypeScript errors that were made from last week. Okay, so let's fix the remaining user password, which is flagged unknown as unknown. So that's good. This is great though. This implementation is really, really good. Okay. Continue viewing the chat component and understand the full implementation. Let me continue viewing the chat component and understand the full implementation. Again, analyzing. Okay, so, and for memory reasons, it goes through different parts of it, which is just insane that it can do that. Hey, it found TypeScript error. Surprise, surprise. Alright, so, okay, now it's completed because we're getting the summary of everything. So let's see what it did. It made several improvements to the back-end and front-end code to fix the TypeScript errors and ensure proper integration between them. Here's a summary of the changes. The back-end changes. We fixed the user module TypeScript issue. Okay. Updated compare password. Okay. Added proper interface to the document type. Improved password hashing. Okay. Enhanced auth middleware. Okay. Improved auth controller. Okay. Removed the TS ignore. Alright. Front end changes. Fixed the chat component. Added missing clear active conversation import. Removed unused imports like grid and messaging. Removed the unused safe render. Okay, these changes have significantly improved the TypeScript integration in the application. making it more type safe and reducing potential runtime errors. The backend now properly handles user authentication with the correct typing, and the front end components are properly connected. Would you like me to make any additional improvements to the code or focus on any other areas of the application? Okay, I'm going to say, please check. Please double check the front end and back end to make sure it is ready for testing. All right, just gonna have it double check its work, so please double the front. Okay, I'll check. Yeah, I left out check, and it's not like it knows it's not going to double the front end and back end. It's going to make sure that it's ready for testing. So that's phenomenal. All right, so it's checking things, ensure all dependencies, analyzing. So that's good. It's going through. Okay, look at the remaining. So it's checking the API service. So this is Vite, the authorization, chat. Okay, API editing. So it found something. I noticed discrepancy between the front end API service implementation and the back end route. So let me fix these issues to ensure the application is ready for testing. So that's good. I mean, we have it double check it, and so it's going through and it's finding that it did actually make mistakes. So we can go ahead and get that taken care of. Okay, so I noticed a discrepancy between the front end socket service implementation and back end socket event handling. Let me fix this to ensure they match correctly. Okay, let's keep that. I noticed their TypeScript module. Okay, so it's finding some errors here that it's fixing. Exist. Okay. While we're having import issues, I see the issue, the import back in. The TypeScript configuration is okay. Done. Okay, I'm going to say please continue. And I'm going to let this run. We're live, and I have a dog out here whining, so I got to take care of this. So I'll be right back. All right, it is still going. Let's see. Let's go ahead and click the keep all here. It's very interesting that it went through and did all that TypeScript fixing, and it's still finding TypeScript errors. All right, so it says it's done. Please continue. And I did it again. I wonder why it canceled the edit. address the issues in the mark message as red. Server error failed. Okay, this is not good. Let's go to the output. Okay. Connection to the server got closed. Server will restart. True. Couldn't create connection to server. So we're having an issue with connecting to Windsurf server. I'm assuming, unless it's Windsurf's having an issue connecting to. No, I think yeah, that's what it would be. TCP connect wrap after connect. Okay. Let's just try again. Please continue. Hopefully this will not be a serious issue. Okay. No credits consumed, purely lit. Let me address the issue. I noticed there's an issue with the chat controller file. Okay, need to fix that. Syntax error. Appears to be duplicate code at the end of the mark is red. Mark message says red, so it's fixing that. Click keep. Let me check the chat controller. And it found something wrong with the chat controller. Okay. Now let's fix TypeScript errors in the chat route. Okay. Let's see. Now the README file, let's see, so this is the backend README, and it says this is the backend server for the Skype Clone chat app. It provides REST API and socket IO integration for real-time chat functionality. Click that. So it's wanting to go into here, okay. And oh, it's going to run the app, okay, so it's going to test this for us. Okay, so I notice we're having issues with the backend server. The errors related to module import. It's looking not JS instead of the TypeScript file, so don't have. Okay, I need to fix the import. See the issue. So it sees the issue import paths. Let's check the project's types configuration, understand how these should be handle imports. Okay, I see the TypeScript configuration is using okay. And this new Windsurf's new Wave 4 implementation it's got some significant upgrades, some really good changes here. I do like that I can access the terminal now, because last week I wasn't able to access the terminal while it was building it, so I do like that now. Okay, so please continue. Very good. All right, go back to reading over here. So user authentication. So it's giving me a list of the features. It's given our tech stack list here. Prerequisites, so you got to have this, but you know, if we're going to run it in Docker, that'll be taken care of. Installation, so navin, backend, install dependencies, install npm install. Okay, so create the .env based on the .example. It's very standard. Okay, let's go ahead and keep here. Let me fix remaining issues. Okay. Developer to start. You can do, npm run dev. Okay, so the server will be localhost 301. Build the application for production. npm run build. This will create the dist directory. So for the with the compiled JavaScript files, so that's good. To run the application in production mode, npm start. And then, okay, so this is where we will be running it in the eventually, and the run docker build. Okay, very good. Let's keep all and then accept. Okay, still getting an error. Can't find that. Okay, so that's the back end. Resolve our issues. I see we're still having issue with the modules import. Problem with the servers looking for JS. Okay. See the package module, which means the project is using ES using ES modules. Let's continue to fix the import. Okay, so accept that, let it list it. Okay, so it's showing all the directories and or the files and their permissions. I see that the file exists in the routes directory issue. Okay, let's fix the server.ts. Okay. Okay, that looks good. It's gonna go in here. It's gonna try again. Let's see. Okay, found 13 errors. I see we have several TypeScript errors in the backend. Let's fix these. Okay. So API documentation over here. Let's see. Well, we gotta accept that. Can't find the modules. Okay. Even though it seems like an absent-minded professor developer, um, it still goes through and gets it done. So let's say please continue. And it's funny that it's like, this isn't working, even though I double checked it and it should be working. But I do like the fact that it can go through and test everything, and you just sit back and just read and watch the show. Okay, so let's update the dev script package. Okay, let's keep all. Okay, so now it's going to use the correct TypeScript configuration for the ES modules. Okay, it's the server.ts. Okay. Okay, so let's see if that fixed it. Still getting errors. So let's check the status of the backend server to see if our changes have fixed issues. We're still facing. Okay. See the issue now. Child is we're importing from files with JS extensions. And that's the problem with, some of the way these models are trained. Sometimes they're trained on JS, but then, they know that you should use, TypeScript, for, and but then it's trying to do both because it's been trained on, the other, so it ends up combining strategies. I think eventually that will all, obviously eventually that's going to be all fixed. But we're, Claude 3.7. I mean, by the time we get to Claude 5 or something, I'm sure a lot of that'll be gone. Okay, so let's try a different approach to fix the module resolution issues. Okay. JS extension from the imports to be consistent with our server. Very good. Okay. Add more changes to that server.ts file. Let's see what it's doing here. Okay. Keep all. A lot of the red lines are gone. Okay, very good. All right, let's try it now. And we're still getting errors. Please continue. Okay, we're at 241, so we're still doing pretty good. Don't think we're going to finish today, but we'll see how far we get. Okay. Modify our package.json. Okay. Okay, so it's going to, okay, so it's going to install that. Okay. Now let's try running. Okay, let's run it again. Instant error. Okay, see, we're still having issues. Module resolution. Okay, the error indicates that we need to adjust configuration properly. Okay, we did that. Let's see what happens. All right. We're still having issues. Yeah, we are, aren't we? And it recognized that we've got this persistent issue going on, so got to come up with a different strategy here. More compatible approach. Okay, let's keep all those changes. And it's got to run npm run. Wait a minute, it changed the package.json, but it's not doing a npm install. So I'm going to clean up all this. Okay. Keep all. Okay. See the issue now. The problem is, okay. All right. What it does. Wow. It almost seems caught in a loop at this stage. We'll see if it can break free. it's middleware. Okay. Close that. Let's accept. Okay. So it's going into the socket.middleware and then back into the server. Editing package.json. Keep that. Okay, so now it's going to install. Okay, let's let it run. Wow, that's crazy. Okay. All right, very good. Fingers crossed. Let's say please. Now, fingers crossed. I don't know if it's more funny than sad, but this is where we're at. So we're having issues, trying a different approach. Okay. Try a completely different approach to fix the model resolution issue. This is a reason why I never, like on my videos, I don't include all this part. Whenever I'm building something, I just edit all this out because it's redundant and it just takes forever. And there's no point in having this in a live stream. I like doing it because I don't do them as often, and you can see exactly what goes into this. When I'm trying to make sure that I don't do any changes myself, when I'm trying to force the AI to actually come up with solutions. Because then, of course, in my real job, I would not be going through this. I would, I use AI to sort of enhance and make me a little more optimized. But this is still faster. I mean, it really is on compared to what a lot. I mean, if we could build, have this thing up and running, and okay, so let's see what we got going on. Resolved. 1000. Let's check the server. Okay, so. Okay. Okay, so it's going to install MongoDB on my computer using brew, um, which is already there. Alright, so let's start on a new directory. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Alright, so great news. The server is now running successfully on port 3000 and connected to the MongoDB. Let's verify the server is accessible for making HTTP requests. So we got our output here. Okay, perfect. The server is now running successfully, and we've fixed the module resolution issue. Let's summarize what we did to resolve this issue. Okay, so we updated the package.json file to use more appropriate configuration for running the TypeScript with the ES modules, and that took forever, but still, I mean, the amount of time it would take to write the code for all this would have been longer, much longer than an hour. So the fact that it was able to go through that and resolve everything in an hour it's phenomenal. So server is up now up and running or on port 3000. The module resolution issue has been fixed, and the backend is now running properly. You can now proceed to testing the API endpoints and integrate with the front end. Okay, so I think at this point we're coming up on an hour, and it's going to take more than 7 minutes to get that done. So I think we'll continue this in a part 3. And yeah, we'll just continue in a part 3 to get this thing hopefully wrapped up then. And I will continue to push. I will push my. In fact, I'll push my code to GitHub, and I'll share that. Well, it's already in the video description. So if you want to see the code for this as it's being created, you can look in the GitHub link. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and I will